Thank you, Ellie, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. So my name is Jérôme Garnier, and today I'll be telling you everything about our approach to teaching in mixed ability settings using our new resources. So today is the third of a series of webinars on supporting you with the new 2024 MFL GCSE using our new Pearson resources. So as mentioned, this webinar is being recorded and the recording will be made available on our YouTube channel after the session. If I could ask you to, if you have a question, to just use the Q&A function as opposed to the chat, and one of my colleagues will be able to help you or answer any of your questions. So the aim of today, I can change the slide. There we go. The aims of today are to introduce you to the Pearson MFL product team, to present our new products for the new 2024 MFL GCSE for French, German, and Spanish, to explain what we mean when we talk about the parallel teaching approach in our new courses, going through a side-by-side comparison of higher and foundation pages. I will also run you through some practical examples and strategies of how to use the student books in mixed ability settings. I will also show you how our parallel approach to teaching mixed ability goes beyond the student books, as it will also apply to our digital resources on Active Hub. And hopefully we will have some time left at the end to go through some Q&A. So as mentioned before, I am Jérôme. I am one of the 3 publishers on our product team, and I am looking after the French student books. So just to give you a bit of background, I joined Pearson just last summer after 17 years roughly working in education. I have worked in and with a variety of schools across Gloucestershire and the West Midlands. I've taught French and German to A-level and Spanish to GCSE, and I've held quite a large number of positions throughout the years. I've been second in department, I've been head of French, head of languages, and lead practitioner specializing on assessments, stretch and challenge, and differentiation. So I also work very closely with Kate Bonnell, who is our German specialist working on the German resources, and Fiona Price, who is our Spanish specialist, who is looking after our Spanish resources. In our last webinars, my colleague Fiona has already given a very comprehensive presentation of our Edexcel and AQA resources. So today I'm just going to give you a quick overview and a reminder of our new courses. So as you can see, we've been very busy in the last 12 months. We've been working on 12 different titles, Pearson Edexcel Higher and Foundation, and AQA Higher and Foundation for French, German, and Spanish. Each title has been designed to specifically match the relevant specifications. So in terms of the student book, they are made of 8 modules, and each module contains a culture spread where the students are exposed very methodically to the culture of the target language countries. The core content, there is some grammar practice at the end of each unit, which allows the students to practice the grammar in context. We also have some exam practice for the listening, the reading, the speaking, and the writing skills, which also include any of the new assessment skills, such as the dictation and the reading aloud. And there are also vocabulary pages. One of the new things with this course is our approach to grammar, because we have also included 3 grammar revision points at strategic points of the book. So after module 2, after module 5, and after module 8, to allow that revisiting and that recycling of the vocabulary and the grammar. So the revision module, we said there is only, there is 1 spread per module, with a focused practice on the module themes and the vocabulary, really focus on that recycling and that retrieval practice, and further exam practice tasks as well. And at the end of the book, we also have some speaking support pages, so supporting you and the students with conversation questions that could be used to help the students prepare for the speaking exams. We also have a dedicated spread on phonics and sound symbol correspondence to help with the dictation as well as the reading aloud. We have some role play skills, some photo cards skills as well, different pages on useful verb tables in different tenses. And also, we have also added something on derivational morphology and helping the students to understand how to recognize and how to use prefixes and suffixes. We also have a brand new platform, Active Hub, on which you will have access to the ebook, any of the surrounding resources. There will be also independent practice for the students to see the vocabulary and grammar in contexts, and also a new platform for assessments and insights. And actually, at the end of this webinar, I will give you a sneak peek at some of the Active Hub functionality and some examples of our assessment offer. So our approach centers around three main principles: teachability, relatability, and accessibility. But the two I really want to focus on today is teachability and enabling you to deliver the right content, and accessibility by ensuring your students are making the right progress at the right time. So we have done extensive research around what mixed ability teaching looks like for you on a day-to-day basis in the classroom. We have listened to your feedback and we have improved on our previous mixed ability offer for both Pearson, Edexcel and AQA books for all three languages. So the first point is that each language has a higher and foundation version that match the specification that they relate to. Both higher and foundation versions have been written in parallel. It's not one after the other. They have been planned and they have been written in parallel. It was very clear during our research that teachers wanted our resources to work in parallel and to support co-teaching. So we didn't want to have an approach where there was only one common content or some common content only. We have also very carefully considered the progression, not just on a book or module level, but on a more granular level, for example, on a page level. And by doing so, we are giving you the freedom to customize your own students' progression because you know your students best. We are helping you prepare your students for their exams in a way that actually suits them. I personally remember very well from my teaching days, those students on the edge of higher and foundation, and we have worked on helping them. And finally, our parallel teaching approach also applies to surrounding resources. So anything that is going to be on Active Hub and also in the assessment. So just to show you really what I mean, I'm going to run through some side-by-side comparison of our resources. So I have chosen quite randomly Module 2, Unit 3 of our AQA French book, but that could also be applied to our Edexcel books across all three languages. You can see, for example, that we have used identical titles in higher and in foundation books, because it's quite important that the teachers are able to reuse the same title if they have a group of students who use higher and some students who use foundation. I think we thought it was very important with the planning. We have also, where applicable, used the same objectives on the page. So for example, on this one, both higher and foundation books, the objectives are to describe your favorite celebrity, understand the position of adjectives, and describe a photo. And all three objectives will be the same in the higher and the foundation book. Now, there are instances where the objectives are not matching, but that is for a very good reason. For example, those who are French teachers will know that the simple future is not featured in the higher specification for French. So the spread that deals with the simple future on higher, there is that reinforcement and that recycling of the near future tense for our foundation students. When it comes to cultural capital, it was very important for us that all students get that same cultural capital exposure, regardless whether they are higher or whether they are foundation. So we have kept the same celebrities and the same places across both versions of the book. And then we have built activities that match the correct tiers. So the students are not missing out on any cultural capital content. They are using exactly the same people, they are using exactly the same places, but the level of challenge in each activity is matched to the specification tier. So for example, on this one, you will see that the texts are slightly longer, whereas for the foundation, we are dealing with shorter sentences. We also use differentiated support. So the same type of tasks, a gap fill, a listening gap fill. For higher, there is no support as such, but for foundation, we have decided to offer students a word bank to actually support them with their understanding. We have also, for productive skills, we've also adapted how much support we are giving them. So the same activity, writing a physical description of a favorite celebrity, and we have given them key language box or sentence builders with a different amount of support. So for foundation, the students will be able to write in a little bit less detail than higher students based on the previous activities on the page. In terms of grammar as well, we have used some differentiation on the page. We know that the grammar content for higher and for foundation is different, and the requirements are also different. So the foundation and the higher explanations are going to differ as well. We have also made great use of our glossary boxes to support our foundation students. So this is an example of the German student book. For higher, for example, they have got 6 questions, but for foundation, they have only got 4 questions and some more challenging vocabulary being glossed at the bottom of the page. So I'm just now going to run through some practical examples and strategies as soon as PowerPoint decides that it lets me. Just to help you in the classroom and how using both books can help you and support the students making the right amount of progress. So the very first strategy will be for you to, for example, use the higher and the foundation books concurrently in the classroom and run the activities simultaneously. It is a very good solution. Our books weren't in the way that it is entirely possible for you to do that. But the other one is to customize your own progression using elements from both the higher and the foundation students book. So I'm going to run through an example of how you could do that with the Spanish student books, for example. So this is a higher an example of the Spanish higher, module 8, unit 3. And I have circled what I think my class should be able to do in terms of the activity, but they might struggle a bit more with activity 4 and activity 5. So I will then be able to just dip in and out of the higher and the foundation book and select, oh, actually, they will be able to do 4 and 5 before going back to the translation on exercise 6. It is entirely possible for you, and the way we've approached it with our parallel writing of the textbook is you will be able to do that. In terms of our surrounding resources, we have got our new platform, Active Hub, where all our front of class resources will be based, including our ebook. We also have independent practice with the vocabulary and the grammar put in context, and our assessments and insights. So ActiveHub is our brand new platform, which will be made available soon to all our customers. It will have an absolute wealth of additional resources to complement, support, and build on the learning in the student book. You will have access to grammar worksheets, you will have access to sentence building grids, you will have access to skills sheets, speaking competence sheets, you will have access to all our answer PowerPoints, as well as the audio and the transcripts. But what I want to draw your attention on is the fact that you will be able to filter your resources on ActiveHub. So there is going to be a filter section where you will be able to decide whether you want to go with the foundation or just the higher resources. And the list will just come up on the side. So very useful when you do your planning. In terms of the front of class resources, we have applied the same principle of parallel writing. So this is an example of the higher and the foundation. So the foundation is on the left, the higher is on the right. So both are for module 4, and the reading skills being understanding a text written in the near future. So as you can see, it is dealing with exactly the same type of grammar, the same type of skill. In the grammar skills worksheet as well, I think if I remember correctly, this grammar skills worksheet is on dealing with the perfect tense in French. And it works through a variety of different activities, but essentially the final activity is for the students to translate sentences in French. So for foundation, it will be a foundation type of activities on the sentence level, and in the higher, it will be on a paragraph level. We also have our phonics PowerPoints. So building on what the teacher said they liked about our Key Stage 3 resources, which was those phonics PowerPoints. We've also brought them to our new Key Stage 4 resources. As you can see, they are also different a little bit for higher and for foundation. So we've got less words to focus on the sound E, for example, and a little bit more on the higher side. And when it comes to the assessments, again, we have listened very, very carefully to your feedback and to any comments you have made in our previous offer. So this, for example, is an extract of the listening assessment for French on module 1, if I am not mistaken. On the left, you have the foundation version, and on the right, you have the higher version. And you're going to say to me, but they are exactly the same. Yes, because they are the crossover questions. We've really tried to mimic and to use that progression of the papers as the students would find in the real exam. So we will have crossover questions for reading and listening. And then obviously in the foundation paper, the previous questions will be geared towards grades 1 to 5. And for higher from grade 3 and 4 to grade 9. And the same will apply to the reading assessments. On the left-hand side here, you have got a foundation paper, and on the right, you've got the higher paper. Again, we have that crossover section where students from both higher and foundation tier will be sitting the same questions, just like they will in the actual reading and listening assessments. So I hope that's given you a good insight into our parallel approach and the different examples of higher and foundation activities. I would like to also remind you that we've got some upcoming webinar training in the next month or so, with the next one about planning and teaching the new GCSE delivered by Kate. You can also, so you can use the QR codes on the screen to register for the next sessions by the qualification team. They're getting ready to teach events, which are happening in the next month or so, and the remaining product team webinars as well. And I will now welcome any questions that you may have, if I can find the chat and the Q&A. When exactly will the ebook be accessible, please? So I believe, Pilar, that we have got, we will have access to an active hub trial starting on the 28th of June. If you are already an existing Active Learn customer, you will have automatic access between the 17th and the 28th of June. Will the mark sheets be combined foundation higher so that you don't need to download both and complete them separately? Mandy, we are actually writing two versions of the, was it mark sheets? Would it be mark sheets for the assessments? So the assessment mark sheets is going to work a little bit differently from the ones you have used in the past, as it will be done through the assessment builder. So you will be able to enter them directly on Active Hub website based on the question that you have selected for your assessment. The dates the books are being published. So as the Edexcel Higher is already published and available, the AQA Higher book should be available at the start of July, and any of the remaining foundation books will be available at the end of the summer before school starts. Will Active Learn require a separate account to the new Active Hub? So I believe that while we are doing the transition between Active Learn and Active Hub, you will be able to log in and then select the page that you want to go on to. But that should be made explicit when you sign up to Active Hub. Will the assessments be divided into a higher and foundation papers? So Michael, that's an interesting question. The assessments are going to be done in two different ways. You will be able to download your traditional assessment papers as you have done in the past. But with Active Hub, you will now have the possibility to have access to an assessment builder, which will allow you to select the questions that you want to include in your paper, and makes that mix and match between higher and the foundation, as well as different skills. So if you wanted to have a reading and listening paper, you would be able to do that. So will the mark schemes on the assessments follow the GCSE scoring and not the Pearson levels? Yes, they are going to be using the GCSE scoring and not the Pearson levels. So it's really good to see that the textbook will be matching closely. Will this mean that it will be easier to switch from the digital higher textbook to the foundation book and vice versa when teaching? Yes, I mean, you will be able to open it in two different tabs and just switch tabs whenever you need to. It's always, yes, it's going to be difficult to have both books on the same screen at the same time. Mark, will the free trial be a full access trial to all the facilities of Active Hub? Also, will access be complete until the paid subscription kicks in? So the free trial is going to have limited access to the resources, at least the ones that will be available, ready for teaching for September. Will the access be granted only between 17th and the 28th of June, or is that just the window during which we can expect to get access? So you will have access between the 17th and the 28th of June, Joe. Do you know if other languages, Italian, are keeping the old 2016 spec? Kieran is answering this one. Will you be putting sample papers on Exam Wizard as well? So the point is that Exam Wizard will eventually move on to Active Hub, and you will be able to use in our assessment offer past papers from Edexcel. So yes, Corinne, the difference between Active Hub and Exam Wizard is progressively all the past papers will go on to Active Hub for languages, and you will be able to pretty much do the same functionality as Exam Wizard. Is the full specification available, and is there a scheme of work available? Yes, the full specification are available on the Pearson Edexcel website, and the scheme of work is available for all 4 versions of the book, for all 3 languages on the website as well. Active Hub be free? No, there will be a free trial. Will the students be able to access both foundation and higher levels on Active Hub themselves, or will it depend on what you assign them? Yes, Joe, it will depend on what you assign them. The same will apply to the resources. If you were to assign, if you want them to have access to a specific listening or a specific worksheet, you will need to assign it to the students. Are the listening tracks in the textbook for higher and foundation the same? No, they are not the same, simply because of vocabulary constraints, because of grammar constraints, and also because of the level. Some of the tasks might not be as appropriate for foundation students as they are for the higher students. I just lost the question, Catherine. We've been told that we have a subscription to Active Learn until 2025. We will have parallel access to Active Hub. Yes, you will. Is there a literary extract in Edexcel as in present AQA, and this is covered in the new materials? There are no literary extracts in the new GCSE Thomas. Okay, thank you ever so much for joining us this afternoon. If you've got any questions, please do get in touch with us. We'd be very happy to help. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Thank you very much.